Okay, we'll get started with Ranger Suarez. First question for Ranger. Start with Matt, back left.
You're a different pitcher than Aaron or Zach, but how much can you maybe pick up from watching how they approached Arizona's hitters in the first two games of the series?
Un pitcher distinto a Nola y William.
No, vi que lo que observé de ellos fue que atacaron bastante la zona, tuvieron buen comando temprano en el juego, se montaban arriba los bateadores temprano y eso hacía que no conectara un hard contact.
Yeah, something that I observed from them was that they attacked the zone. They have pretty good command of the strike zone, and they got ahead in the count early.
A few more for Ranger. Stick with Matt.
I'm wondering from your perspective what it's like to see Bohm be so confident at third base. You've been around him for a while now. Some of those plays he made in the first few games are pretty good.
Que hables pues cómo has visto tú a Bohm. Obviamente tú desde hace ya años has estado trabajando con él, has estado en el mismo equipo con él.
Sí, mira, Boomer es una de las personas que tú lo ves que cometió un error y al día siguiente es el primero que llega a trabajar con Bobby, es el primero que quiere mejorar todo lo malo que le pasa. Mira, está jugando tremenda defensa en esta postseason, incluso en la temporada no es fácil jugar unos días primera, otro día tercera, pero él lo ha hecho muy bien y yo contento por lo que él ha hecho.
Bomer is one of those guys that, whenever he makes an error, he is the first guy out the next day working with Bobby Dickerson. He shows up early. He does all the infield work that he has to do to get better. He's played great defense, and we have to give him a lot of credit because he's played not only third base but also first base. It's not easy to make that switch at times. So honestly, I'm very, very happy for him.
Jeff.
Ranger, for someone who hasn't seen the Phillies in person this postseason at all, what is the difference between you guys right now and the way that you were playing during the regular season?
Alguien que no ha visto los Phillies hasta ahora. ¿Cuál es la diferencia principal de los Phillies en este momento en comparación a la temporada regular?
Mira, creo que cuando es postseason ya todo es diferente, todo cambia. Creo que cambiamos el chip mentalmente y una vez vamos a lo que queremos, porque esto es, perdiste, te vas a casa y eso no es lo que nosotros queremos. Nosotros queremos lograr el objetivo que no logramos el año pasado.
I don't really know what it is, but for us, the postseason is different. We're just a different team in the postseason. We understand that this is like, if you lose, you go home, and that's not what we want. We want to complete what we didn't complete last year, which was, to win the World Series.
If I can just follow up the difference between this postseason and last postseason, what's different about the team right now compared to last October as well?
Sí, la diferencia del equipo, porque ya estás diciendo que en la postemporada somos un equipo diferente, pero ¿cuál es la diferencia entre el equipo de este año y el año pasado?
No, creo que vamos por el año pasado tuvimos tremendo trabajo en la posición antes de perder la Serie Mundial. Este año creo que vamos por el mismo camino. Creo que este año, con el favor de Dios, va a ser el año.
Honestly, I think last year we did great work in the playoffs. The postseason overall was really good. I feel that we're on the same track, but again, this year we're focused on completing the job, just finishing the job.
Ranger, you have had tremendous success in the playoffs. The Phillies have won every one of the games you pitch. They're 7-0. You're 3-0. You have one game save. You have a 1.16 ERA. What's different between the Ranger during the regular season and the Ranger in the postseason?
La diferencia del Ranger de la temporada regular y la postemporada, porque contigo el equipo ha estado muy bien en postemporada, ha ganado 3 juegos, la efectividad súper bajita.
Es que es eso, es lo que estoy diciendo. Cuando llegamos a un tiempo que que ya todo, por lo menos yo empecé, la temporada no fue muy buena porque tuve una lesión, entonces no tenía como ese ritmo. Ahora como ya he tenido bastante, he lanzado bastante, me siento mucho mejor. Siento que soy una de las personas que cada vez que lanza me voy sintiendo mejor.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have a good start of the year. You know, I was injured, but you know, I am the type of pitcher that the more I pitch, the better rhythm I get. You know, and so actually the workload helps me out. You know, just to be a better pitcher.
Bob?
Ranger, what has your pitching staff done differently this series to completely stop their running game? They've run wild all season, but they haven't even attempted a stolen base yet.
Sí, pues no han intentado robarse base en esta postemporada, sí. ¿Qué está haciendo el grupo de los pitchers diferente para o sea, aguantar los bateadores en la base?
No, sabemos que el equipo de Arizona tiene un equipo que corre bien en las bases, tienen buenos jugadores que, o sea, que corren, pero yo creo que hemos hecho tremendo trabajo en ese aspecto. No, la Wheeler hicieron tremendo trabajo aguantando los corredores. Mira, no creo que no se han ido al robo en ninguna vez y yo el crédito a ellos.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're aware that Arizona, you know, runs well. They have pretty fast guys when they get on base. But we've done a really good job holding the runners, you know, at the bases. And, you know, we have to give a lot of credit to, especially Nola and Wheeler, that have been doing a pretty good job there.
Last row on the back.
Ranger, after you were pulled earlier than expected in that first start in Atlanta, how did you not let it affect you the next time that you pitched?
Sí, cuando sacaron de Atlanta en esa apertura que obviamente estaba disgustado, ¿cómo hiciste tú para que eso no te afectara en tus próximas salidas?
No, porque es que, o sea, yo no estaba disgustado. Yo estaba disgustado, pero era conmigo mismo porque yo quería, obviamente cuando estoy ahí quiero durar lo más posible en el juego. Me gusta cuando lanzo. Por eso me disgusté, pero fue por mí mismo porque siento que puedo dar más y lo demostré en el quinto juego contra Atlanta. Y mira, mañana ojalá y pueda hacer lo mismo y poder lograr que el equipo gane.
Yeah, honestly, I wasn't angry or upset, you know, with anyone on the team particularly. I was just mad at myself because I knew I could have done better. You know, my goal is to go as deep as possible in games. Again, I knew I could have been better. I always want to be better, and that was a goal of mine the next time out. You know, I wanted to show them what I was capable of. I was fortunate enough in Game 4 against the Braves to go, you know, deeper in the game and show them, you know, my skill set.
Matt.
Stubbs didn't play all last postseason, and he hadn't played in the postseason yet this year. So when he got in the game last night, or maybe after the game, how much messing around were you guys doing with him or joking around with him about getting into a game?
Que Stubbs no había jugado para nada en la postemporada del año pasado. Este año tampoco había jugado. Ayer cuando entró al juego, si ustedes estaban echando de broma, o ¿qué comentarios estaban haciendo?
No, siempre con Stubbs tiene una energía increíble. O sea, es de admirar porque, como tú dijiste, no había jugado en la postseason, jugó ayer y mira, cuando llegamos al clubhouse empezamos a hablar con él y a bromear con él un poco.
Yes, I mean, Stubbs has an incredible energy, and I honestly admire it because he's one of those guys that, especially in the postseason, you know, he knows he's never going to play or rarely is going to play, but you know, he embraces it. He knows that, you know, like it's a bench player. He's going to support the team from the bench. But, you know, last night when he got in the game, we just joked with him in the clubhouse, you know, we share a couple of laughs.
Any last ones for Ranger? We'll finish up with Barry.
Hey, guys. Ranger, what did you guys learn last year? You mentioned it in the process. Going through you ran through the Padres in pretty much the same fashion in the NLCS, and then kind of ran into a wall with Houston in the World Series, especially after the no-hitter. What did you learn from that you're taking into this year?
Sí, ¿qué enseñanza te dejó, o sea, la postemporada del año pasado, especialmente esa última ronda que perdimos contra Houston? O sea, porque obviamente íbamos muy bien, le ganamos a los Padres, que era tremendo equipo, y después chocamos contra una pared. contra Houston?
No, yo creo que no sé, creo que no, como un equipo joven no teníamos experiencia en jugar en unos playoffs, en una serie mundial. Yo creo que eso fue una de las cosas que nos afectó en sí, pero mira, ya tenemos más experiencia este año, ya está todo compacto. Yo creo que este año es el año.
Last year, we were not an experienced team in the playoffs. You know, we were a young team, in my opinion. You know, we didn't have much experience in the NLCS, World Series, anything like that. We're a more compact team this year, and I think, you know, like overall, we're a better team, and again, we're all ready to finish the job this time.
What does Turner add to it?
Turner, ¿qué le añade Turner al equipo?
No, mira, todo. Defensivamente, ofensivamente, siempre te está ayudando con cualquier cosa que tú estás fallando. Yo creo que, y como no nada más él, sino todo el equipo, nos ayudamos uno al otro, y yo creo que eso es una de las cosas que nos ha ayudado bastante.
I mean, he adds in every aspect of the game. Defense, offense. He's always looking for ways to help his teammates out. And honestly, not only Turner, every single one on the team is trying to help each other out, and that makes us better.
Thank you, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, guys. Ranger, we'll see you tomorrow. Okay, we'll get started with Craig Kimbrell. Who's got the first question for Craig? We can start straight back.
Craig, you obviously played in Philadelphia as a visitor quite a bit. There was that game where they mocked you behind home plate. What has been kind of the difference between playing as a Brave and other teams as a visitor and as a Philly at home?
I mean, can y'all hear me good? I mean, I don't know. I mean, the difference is getting cheered for or yelled at. I mean, Philly has always been a place, like you talked about. It's been a long time pitching there, and it's always been a place I've always enjoyed going in, just because, you know, the atmosphere, the fans. You never know what you're going to get, and it's the fun part about this game. And but yeah, it definitely feels a lot better this year. Kind of have them behind me, cheering me on, instead of trying to mock me or make fun of me.
Andy on the right.
Craig, you've been doing this job now for a long time, and I imagine as you get older, physically it gets more challenging. But what I'm curious is that at your age now, what are the parts of the game that come easier to you than they did when you were like 22, 23, 24?
I mean, yeah, I mean, that's a lot. You're right. I mean, as you get older in this game, there are aspects that get easier and some that get harder. Obviously, getting up, getting going every day. You know, the older you get, the tougher it gets, but it's just a little bit more work you got to put in. I think the biggest difference, though, is sometimes not letting the game speed up on me. You know, when I was younger, I pitched on, and I still do at times, pitch on a lot of emotion, a lot of adrenaline. Would get away from thinking about pitches, and at times just thinking that sometimes that I could just throw a pitch, you know, by a guy, or throw a curveball that they couldn't hit, instead of really just thinking about you know, game plans and things like that. I would say today I feel more confident about the pitches that I throw, just because I've done more homework and have more understanding of certain pitches guys can and can't hit.
So, just if I can ask one more, just how do you control your adrenaline when almost every time you pitch, it's usually like the highest leverage spot in the game?
Well, it's like you said, yeah, I'm usually in a spot where it's a high leverage. Fans are into it. Pivotal moment in the game. So I wouldn't say I'm used to it, but I'm definitely comfortable in the spot. The big moments, the spots, they're not moments that overwhelm me. They're moments that bring me back every single year, because those are the moments that I want to be in. It's the funnest part about this game.
Over here on the left, Juan, and then Pete.
Hey, Craig. Obviously, last year was kind of a tough year for you towards the end. Got left out the postseason roster. How tough was that? And does that make you kind of appreciate some of these moments?
It definitely makes me appreciate this. It was a tough pill to swallow at the end of last year. Having my ups and downs. At times throwing the ball well, and then at times looking like I shouldn't even be out there or have a jersey on. So it definitely, it stung. I pitch to be in these moments to help teams finish games off and finish off meaningful games. And to not get that opportunity last year definitely stung. And to be sitting here talking to y'all at this moment this year, it feels pretty good to be here.
I know Candy kind of talked about this, and I'm sure other closers have talked about this in the past, that they want to be the guy who gets the last out of the World Series. How much is that kind of something that you think of that you kind of want to achieve before your career kind of comes to an end?
I mean, it'd be awesome. It'd be so cool. But at the same time, I have an understanding that my spot to be important and useful might come at a different point during the game. And if it's not the last out, and if it's at a different point, and I do my job, I'll be just as happy.
Pete?
Craig, this is 14 years for you. You've won a ring. You've been an all-star. You've done a lot of things. What motivates you, after a season to want to come back again?
Man, I don't know. It's fun. It's fun to be able to compete. I've been blessed and gifted in an ability, and been able to use it for a while now, and to still have it, and to still be able to go out there and compete at the highest level and have fun doing it. There's no reason not to come back and keep on playing.
You kind of just mentioned it, but how, I guess, have you come to grips with the idea that managers now don't necessarily use a traditional closer? Sometimes, the other day, you pitched in the 7th and 8th inning. You've always been a guy who was that traditional closer. How have you sort of adjusted to the idea that that's not always going to be the case?
Well, I've been getting used to it over the last couple of years. It's just, this year isn't the first time I've done it. Wouldn't say I did very great at first, but having a better understanding. I mean, with Topper, the communication that we have with each other is great. He gives me an idea of what he has in his head and relays it, not just to me, but every single one of us. And just having that, knowing that, prepares us to be ready for kind of like just about everything that we see in the game that might come. We're prepared for it.
On the right side, Jeff, and then Jesse.
Craig, back in 2018, there was a vibe around the Red Sox from the beginning of the postseason that this team was different. This team was special, and you guys went out and fulfilled that. I haven't seen you in person yet, but from afar, it seems like the Phillies have the same sort of thing going. Have you felt that, and are there any similarities that you've noticed between those two teams?
Y'all are watching the same guys I am. Our starting pitching has been great. We've banged the ball out of the ballpark, and our bullpen's been great. We've really checked off all the boxes we need to up to this point. So it's really easy to think that you want to compare to other winners, right? But we still have a lot of work to do. We still have a lot of games to win. But when it comes to vibes, from the moment that I signed with the Phillies, the goal is to get back to the World Series and to win the World Series. So I think we've had that mentality from day one to show up every day. Obviously, it's to win every day, but it's to get back to that moment and get back to that chance. And you don't do it unless you expect to do it. And I see a group of guys who show up every day expecting to win, expecting to do their job and to do it to the best of their ability. And we also have a lot of guys who trust each other. You can't do it all by yourself, but when you got a team of guys who are willing to lean on each other, there's a lot of good that can come out of that.
Jesse.
Craig, you've played with Nick Castellanos in two different places now. Have you ever taken the time to figure him out?
I talk to Nick all the time.
Well, tell us, what's he about?
Nick's a great guy. He really cares about what what maybe you might think or how you may be viewing something. A very big perspective guy. I love him to death. I know at times, like in conversations, he might be hard to understand, but I understand everything that man says. He makes a lot of sense to me.
Do you get a kick out of some of the interviews he does, national TV and stuff like that?
Yeah, I like Scooby-Doo too.
Straight back.
Craig, has it been difficult as your career's going on to kind of accept being a mercenary, kind of as a reliever, you're on a different team in a different city, sometimes 2 in one season?
Well, I was reminded at a young age, as a reliever, don't get too comfortable. Part of your job is moving around, especially if at times you sign with a team that expectations are high and they don't get there. Well, sometimes that means you're on the move, and that's just part of the game.
Bob?
Greg, what's it been like being second time around with Dave Dombrowski? I mean, you almost think he shares like the same mindset as veteran players, like wants to win it all now, not worrying about rebuilding or resetting, but winning all or nothing.
I mean, when you're on the team, you want a guy that's thinking about winning right now, right? You don't. I didn't come here for a rebuild. I came here to win. And having Dave Dombrowski around, he's always part of organizations that are about win now, and that's what we're doing.
Barry?
Hey, Greg. How do you going back to LA? When you have a kind of an off year, although your numbers are pretty much the same from last year to this year, when it gets shaky and you come back and straighten it out, what's the difference between what happened this year and what happened last year?
Well, I think situationally, there are, you have numbers, but then you also have moments and games. Like you said, the numbers aren't that different. But the way I was able to control a larger number of games, I was able to pitch in a lot more games. That my usage, I felt like, was a lot more consistent. All things that I felt like helped me stay on a good roll. I went on a pretty good run in the middle of the summer this year, and kind of took off with it, and was able to close out a lot of ball games. Kind of hit a point, I think, because of usage in August where I gave up some runs, because this is the most innings I've thrown in 13 years. And then was able to kind of step back in September and reset myself and go on a good run for the last part of the year. I think like you said, I'm wondering what the biggest difference is being able to go out and face the first batter and walk them and not let it completely ruin my night. Being able to be a professional and step off the back of the mound in 20 seconds, that's all I got. But take a breath and lock back in and get the job done, and not say, hey, where are my mechanics? Why am I doing this? Why am I doing that? And just stepping back on the mound and competing, and knowing that as long as I'm thinking about competing and getting the guy out, that good things are going to happen, and I'm not battling myself. I'm actually competing against the guy in the box. That's the biggest difference.
So I imagine a lot of this is confidence.
I would say so. I think at any level, at any position.
No matter what success you've had in the past, it's a constant reaffirmation.
Yeah, I mean, when you've been doing it for 13 or 14 years, I don't still throw 100, right? But I still have the ability to make guys swing and miss, and just understanding and being a smarter pitcher and knowing that.
Okay, just one out of left field here. As Hall of Fame voters, it's always hard to judge us how to put relievers into the Hall of Fame. In this era, to me, it's you, Chappie, Kenley. What do you think about the whole realm of you going to the Hall of Fame and how the vote is going to go for that?
I mean, it's not really something I have control over, right? All I can do is show up and do my job and try to do it great, and continue to do that. The names that you've thrown out there, we've all been in the league for about the same time. and we've all had really good careers. But I think there's also a couple guys that I think need to get in there before any of us even have a conversation to even be on that list.
Who are they?
Well, I think we can name them.
Wagner, guys like that?
Well, yeah, I think you just said it.
All right, Craig, thanks for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thank y'all.
We'll start with Marcus on the back left.
Hey, Rob. What was it like getting out here today? How were the guys after this? Like, I think they're 7-1, and they haven't lost in a week. What was the mood like?
It was good. We got up early this morning, got on the plane. Everybody seemed to be relaxed. Everybody had their families with them, and so it was a good flight out.
Matt, all the way in the back.
I presume you're not ready to say who might start Game 4
That's
for you?
correct. That's correct.
And with Ranger, there were times during the season in which he was not the pitcher that we normally see. Why did you have confidence that he was someone who could rise to these moments if you did get into situations like this?
I think just his poise on the mound. Nothing seems to bother him. But yeah, when he didn't have his best stuff, it was coming off that injury, and so he's still kind of building back up. But once we got towards the end of the season, he had it going on, and he's continued that through the postseason. So I always expect him to give us a good start. Expect him to give us length. His first two starts we could mess around or get him out a little bit earlier because we had the opportunities with off days built in. This is a little different. We got 3 in a row here, so hopefully he can give us some length tomorrow.
Rob, how would you evaluate the addition Craig Kimbrell's been both on the mound and just kind of as a presence in the bullpen?
Yeah, I mean he's really had a really good year for us. Probably better than expected, to tell you the truth. But more than that, what he's done in talking with the younger relievers down in the bullpen about handling situations and slowing the game down and breaking the game down into little segments where they can work through situations and tough situations. So he's been great on, off the field, in the bullpen. He's been a great addition.
Jeff?
Hey, Rob. This team's been pretty fantastic since you took over last year, but has there been a period where the starting pitching, relief pitching, bats, and gloves have coalesced as well as they seem to have over these last 8 games? And if so, when was that?
Yeah, I really can't remember a period. There may have been a period of time, a week or 10 days, where we played this well, but I can't specifically remember. But we're really playing well right now, and I told the guys at the start of the series, I said, if we take care of the baseball defensively and don't give them free passes, you're going to be able to kill some of the chaos that they create, because they're really good at that. Running, bunting, taking extra bases, tagging up at first base on fly balls, the outfield, that thing. They take advantage of mistakes, and you got to eliminate that. And I think we've done that. We played very good very good defense, and we've played 16 postseason games, and we've walked 15 hitters. So we're not giving free passes. Knock on wood, continues to do that. But that's kind of the things that stand out to me.
Bob?
Rob, what do you think the biggest difference is between this year's team, the NLCS, and a year ago at this time?
Well, I think we got some more talent. You had a couple of relievers, and you had Trey. You had Taiwan Walker, who hasn't even pitched yet. He got 15 wins during the regular season. And I think just the experience of going through it last year has, especially for the guys that have never been there before, it really helps. It really lets them settle down a little bit. They understand what's coming and what's to be expected, and they can sort of slow the game down a little bit better.
So they get that more confident team this year?
Yeah, I think so. And we're playing pretty well, so that gives you confidence too.
Pete?
Rob, with Kimbrell, how much do you think he sort of accepted the idea that he's not a traditional closer necessarily, that you're going to use him whenever you want to use him?
Oh, he's accepted that, and I think he accepted it right in spring training, to tell you the truth. And he just pitched so well, and then Alvarado went down during the season, and he sort of stepped right in and became that dominant guy for a while. But I think going into camp, even spring training, he knew that, you know, he might be a seventh inning guy, he might be an eighth inning guy, he might be the closer. We didn't know, and that's sort of where we're at now. And he's accepted it. He just wants to know basically what part of the game that he's going to be coming into.
Do you think most managers at this point have kind of gone to that model, that there's not necessarily, you know, there's a few, I mean, Cleveland has their guy, but I mean, it seems like most managers are kind of comfortable with the idea of doing what they want to do in particular innings?
Yeah, I think so. You know, I think, and I was always more on the traditional side where, okay, we got a seventh inning guy, we got an eighth inning guy, and then you got closer in the ninth. But I've sort of warmed up to this, and it worked out pretty well for us last year where we were mixing and matching. And now with the additions that we've got, you know, you got Kimbrel, who's been a closer, you got Soto that's been a closer, you got Alvarado, who's close, you've got Dominguez that's close. So you got a lot of guys that have felt that ninth inning heat, if you will. So I feel comfortable with almost anybody.
Jeff?
If there's a word that you could use to describe the personality of your clubhouse, what would it be? And what allows you to let them be themselves and monitor themselves the way that they seem to?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. They're just themselves, and that's two words. But, and the reason I trust them is I know that when the game starts or when it's not time to have fun, they lock it in. And I trust them with that, and they're really good about it. Because I know when, you know, what fun is, and I know what messing around is, and they know that I know that. So I think they have a good sense of when to have fun and when to get after it and compete.
If that's a light switch, who's the one person who flips it for the team?
It's the entire clubhouse, really. I don't think there's one guy that really stands out.
Matt?
So Stubbs didn't play at all last postseason. He hadn't played yet in this postseason. So what'd you say to him before that ninth inning? And
We said he was a little sore today, so he wasn't sure if he could play tomorrow. He was great, though. And, you know, I felt bad last year that we went the entire postseason. He was the only guy that didn't play. And I felt bad because he's such a big part of our clubhouse. He's such a great team guy that I just felt awful. And it took me a while to get over it, really.
So you had been thinking about this at least a little bit.
Yeah, I was just hoping there would be a spot where we could just get him in, and hopefully there's another spot.
Barry?
Hey, Rob. You said there's not one guy, but if you look at the way the last two seasons have really mapped out, when Harper came back from the elbow injury last year and you got him in as DH, you started to make a run to the playoffs, and then you were great in the playoffs into the World Series. Similarly, this year when he came back from the surgery, you guys were like struggling, and then when he got going, it's been lasting through the season. So does he make everybody in the lineup better? Does he take pressure off of Castellanos? Does he take pressure off of, you know, the way your lineup is structured, just him being in the middle of it?
Yeah, I think so. You know, even when he's not hitting, because he came back from the thumb last year, came back from the elbow this year, and so it took a while for him to get going. But just his presence there, I mean, everybody knows where that spot is, and so everybody around him gets pitched a little bit differently. So he is even when he's not hitting, he's a difference.
Yeah, so that takes pressure off the rest of your lineup, and everybody contributes.
Yeah, no doubt, and I think you see that.
Any last ones for Rob? All right, Rob, thanks. We'll see you tomorrow.